and that everything is so polarized is slight disagreement doesn't create action. If I'm selling coffee, I'm going to be like, you don't buy coffee from me, you're going to die. So
a good leader is when we take over in 2040. You're like, oh my God. Hey, I quit it.
That's why I'm not a Sith, bro. Do it. Welcome to the Cam and Joe Show. My name's Joe with my good friend Cameron.
Good morning, big dog. Happy Friday, brother.
I know, man. It's always a good time.
How was your week?
Oh, it was so good. I mean, well, we went and saw Deadpool Wolverine.
I was just going to say, Tuesday night was a treat.
Oh, man.
We talked about seeing it last week.
Yeah.
And when it came out, we're like, oh, yeah, we got to make time for it. And then we're on our way home from my folks' house. And you text me at like 7, like, hey, there's a 10:10 showing.
Yep.
Deadpool. I'm like, oh, that's happening for sure. That's happening for sure. I was like, babe, I love you. I know that we're in the middle of season 2 of Suits that we love. I was like, we're pausing it tonight.
But this is important.
This is happening.
This is important.
This is
it's the ultimate bromance movie.
Oh, it's so good.
It is ultimately.
So good. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Oh, man, such a happy place.
Yeah.
So today, on top of nerding with each other, we're actually going to be talking about leadership. So it's a little bit, it's not really heavy subject matter. I just really think that.
It can be.
But I think that what we're in a vacuum because of a lack of leadership.
Yeah.
And I have some scenarios to bring up.
Yeah.
And I'm curious your thoughts on it because there is this baiting that's happening on social media right now, especially with all like the politics that's like, go ahead, do it. And you're like, no, I'm not gonna, this doesn't matter. This really doesn't matter. Do it. Mm-hmm. Right. We'll use an example. So what I think, and I'll just tell my thought now, and then I'll use case points, and I'm curious your thoughts on it. Yeah. So what I think is going on is a lot of the issues we're running into is a lack of leadership. And then when something bad happens, because of the toxicity we've created in society towards leaders, you now write them off as being part of the problem. Yeah. You just assume they're the problem, but then there's no accountability because you just assume they're part of the problem.
Correct.
So,
No, I think you nailed that.
So let's use an example. The Olympics.
Yeah.
All over social media.
Yeah.
I saw two sides. One was, this girl got beat up by this dude. And then when you go, oh, well, let's see. Oh, this isn't really fully a dude. Yeah. There's a chromosome difference.
Yeah.
Oh, and okay, the test happened. And so the scenario itself at large is not a good scenario.
Correct.
Okay. But then who makes that call?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's it's a tough place because then you start to get into the identity conversation and who is what and when and why. And I mean, transparently, I even had to check myself a little bit because I went back and I deleted a post because I never like to post anything that's just brash or in somebody's face or make somebody feel a certain way. It's just not my style. I try to frequency above all that. And I kind of got caught up in it. And I'm a firm believer in athletics. I'm a firm believer that if you are a man, you ought to play in male sports. And if you are a female, you ought to play in female sports. And I put a lot of emphasis on when you were built, designed, and created by God in that role with that gender identity, with those chromosomes, that's the plan and path that you're on. What happened with the Olympics made us all kind of pause and scratch our chin a little bit. Yeah. Because you now have an individual who was born with all of the female reproductive system. Yep. But from a chromosome standpoint, which we always lean into the chromosome. What do the chromosomes say? Yeah. The chromosomes are effectively both, if you would. Like huge anomaly. And when there's a huge anomaly, you have to take pause and be like, okay, maybe I don't have a full there's no sword for me to die on here. Yeah. Right. You unpack it a little bit more, you start to feel bad for that woman because everybody so quickly bashed her, and it was not her choice. People were like, she was born a man and she trains. She didn't. Like, we know that now. Yeah. Yeah. And now we have to lean into the the Olympic committees and the international sporting governors that are going to decide what they do next. And then you just kind of have to lean into how that plays out. But it's sticky because it's the middle ground that gets kind of yucky.
And so in that scenario, though, I mean, if I were the Olympics, I'll tell you what I would do right away. I would go, hey, because of the situation, we're actually starting a third section. We're gonna have genetic men versus genetic women, and then if you fall in the cracks, and we don't know, you have your own. And now we're not taking from anybody, but we're adding to it. We're not going to judge you for things that you can't control.
100%.
Right. I think that's, and I would say that on everything. Like basketball as well. I would say that in football. Like if you genuinely don't know, instead of allowing and taking from, add to it. If we genuinely believe it's a benefit to society and people can't control these things, then add to it. Don't take from somebody else. Because taking from somebody else so that you can have something that isn't rightfully yours is stealing from that person.
Correct.
And so this scenario, though, is, again, this is leadership. This is not. I had tons of conversations with people. They're like, it's awful. And I was like, yeah, it's bad that that scenario happened, but why are we fighting? Like
in the image of watching the
and then they made
the
it
other woman drop to her knees and like
no, the imagery was
super powerful.
The imagery is heartbreaking, but it's just like, I love music. Music is manipulation, and I know it. And so there's times when I need to manipulate my emotions to feel better. So I'll put on something that's happier. Or I need to manipulate it to give myself a little bit more pump. So if I'm going to the gym, giving myself that gives me some testosterone or some adrenaline hit, right? If I'm able to do that and I know I'm being manipulated, how is it that we allow images to now become manipulated? But it's to the point where it's to our own societal degradation. Because first it became, okay, this scenario happened. Then it became, oh, well, Jesus wouldn't. It became religious. And then it became political. And now I'm like, what are you doing? Stop. Because the only thing that people are really getting addicted to at that point isn't no one's holding accountability to the right person. People are addicted to how they feel about having that debate because of the dopamine hit that happens in their body. We're actually addicted to hate more so than we are about actually trying to fix the scenario. And fixing the scenario, people say, the Karen thing. Well, I'm going to go talk to the manager. Yes, please. Karen this crap. Like, if everyone on woke culture, like, let's give Karen some ability here. Find who's actually in charge, who made the call, and hold accountability.
But how rare is that? It's kind of a pseudo lost art, if you would. If you have the opportunity, like for instance, going back to the Olympics, hindsight's always 20/20. Right. The Olympic Committee, while they, in my opinion, grossly stumbled the opening ceremonies. There was things that I thought were not okay about being a Christian man. That I didn't love about the opening ceremonies. And then they were quick to say, "Oh, it was not our place or our intention to mock Christianity. That was not the case." And then multiple days later, it came out. No, it actually, and they're like, it wasn't supposed to be the Last Supper. And then days go by. No, it actually was the Last Supper, but it was our rendition of the Last Supper. And then it's just like, yo, kind of botched that. You kind of botched that. The Tom Cruise thing at the end, the closing ceremony was pretty cool. Because you didn't have little blue fairies on the Last Supper table. If
you look at and this is, the real debate, if you're going to go into that, and I'm not defending the Olympics in any way, you're looking at paganism versus Christianity, okay? Christianity only is a small percentage. It's like 20% of the population is Christian, 30%. The rest would be considered paganism according to Christianity. So if you're doing an Olympics for the world, you know what I mean? And here's the thing:
cater to one.
If you make fun of, if they were to make fun of Allah and do Islam, they would be destroying like Muslims would get so offended they would destroy the world. Christians are easy hanging fruit. We're low bearing fruit, and they're like, whatever. They don't care. And then when we did care, they're like, oh, how dare you care? Right. So
no, you've never cared before.
But I still look at that. I don't care. To me, it's been that way for years. I remember watching it 2 times ago, and I was like, wow, this is really weird. And I started looking up some of the symbolism. I was like, oh, this is straight up paganism. Got it. Okay. And I just moved on. I mean, even the point of the Olympics was to get your body so fit that you were worthy of the gods.
Correct.
Okay, that's not really a Christian concept.
It's Greek. So if you know Greek, it doesn't have much to do with Jesus.
So then why are we looking at this going, oh, they're attacking Christianity? When it's like, it doesn't matter. In the end, it really doesn't matter.
Correct.
And you're more addicted to the thought of it mattering than it actually.
And the rise that you get from making a post and then somebody likes it and likes it again. And then that's the dopamine hit is what many are after now, right? And when it's like, no, like.
I let it breathe. I always look at it and let it breathe. You notice, like, if I post stuff on social media, it's normally business, podcast, or family. I don't touch politics.
Yeah.
I don't touch that. And even hear me talking about politics. This is how I talk to everybody about politics.
Yeah, it should be.
Because I'm like, look, we don't know. There's a lot we don't know.
Yeah.
Why would I just...
No one's perfect. Donald Trump is not Jesus.
Nope.
Right?
Yeah, no. And it's so easy for us to just go, well, this person. It's like, no. To me, it's what are the policies? What is the leadership? And because there's a lack of leadership, we're seeing a vacuum. Their lack of parenting... Think about it. All the stuff that's happening with the schools. Parents didn't know what was going on in schools, not because there wasn't opportunities to.
Correct.
It's because they let the ball drop. And so because of their lack of parenting, we're now in a situation. It's easy for us to complain, how dare you do this, when we neglected it in the first place. And now we have to clean up our mess, and we don't like cleaning up our mess. And now it's everybody else's fault.
I couldn't agree more, man. But there's lack of buy-in. There's lots of reaction, but lack of buy-in. Like, for instance, I saw a post last night locally. State of California gave Sutter County X amount of hundreds of thousands of dollars for these pop-up, what they call flock cameras, which they pop up. There's like 20 or 25 that'll be all over Sutter County now.
Yeah.
60, 70% of them will be in Yuba City proper, some out in Sutter, some in Live Oak, but all in Sutter County. And they are little, not VIN number readers, license plate readers.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's this post that everybody in Sutter was like, oh, governmental monitoring. Oh my God. They're here. We need to take it down. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Everybody is freaking out that they did a little, because right there on Butte House, where Butte House dead ends into Acacia, right there by the SYO building in Sutter, if you know Sutter.
Yeah.
And so many people are so quick to freak out about it. I'm like, well, here's a question. If that is a license plate reader, let's say, knock on wood, God forbid, your child gets abducted.
Sure.
And they know that that child was abducted in a black F-150 somewhere in Sutter County. Okay? And now all of a sudden they popped up on a flock camera on Township Road, and then they popped up on a flock camera on Acacia. At least now you know trajectory of exactly where that car is going.
100%.
If you have nothing to hide, chill the hell out and allow there to be a little bit of monitoring there. But people are like, hold on, let me fix my foil hat. They're out to get us. I'm just like,
it's who's they. Why? I think a lot of it is ignorance, or I wouldn't say it's malicious. It's difficult for me to say it's malicious as much as it's ignorance. Silly. So like, okay, you have an issue with that. Hey, wiretap, what's a good recipe for brownies?
Yeah, don't lean into the perks of tech if it freaks you out so much.
So we
may be in the minority here.
The Olympics is an example. I'll use another example that's a hot topic thing. And again, I'm going to address this kind of how I just addressed the other thing. I felt like we were honoring in the other thing. We're going to continue the trend. The Hamas versus Israel protests that were happening in Berkeley. Okay. Literally people that don't go to that school were blocking classes for kids to go to that were of Israel descent. Or Jewish descent. So you're having a group of people that are afraid to go to class by other people that are not. And then it became this, well, you're anti-Israel if you are, or you're pro. And it became this, again, hate bait. Yeah. This is all hate bait. Yeah. All it is.
I know it is.
Trying to get you to go. And I literally went, why is the principal allowing this?
Yeah.
One phone call. Hey, we've got people that shouldn't be on campus here. They need to be removed. hey, your guys are good to disagree.
Because his hands are tied. His or her hands are tied.
No, he could easily bet. No.
I know, but the second he takes them off, then he's pro-Israel. Now he's the enemy.
No, he does.
It's Berkeley.
Or he could just do an anonymous phone call and say, hey, there are people here that aren't supposed to be here. And then he could ask the debate teacher to have a debate between the people.
See? Yeah, the right and wrong way to handle it.
Let the discourse happen. Look, if there's an issue, it needs to be resolved. And I'm all about disagreement and arguing with each other, but it has to be in person, because when you see that the other person bleeds, it creates empathy.
Yeah.
As soon as we stop having the conversations, we all die.
100%.
Because now we've alienated a person that we never get to see.
Yep. So and they're instantly the enemy because they're of a different dialect or descent or creed or religion or color. Or one is pro Palestine, one is anti, one is but it, you know what it takes me back to? It takes me back to God loves us all, period.
Yeah.
Case, end point. Jesus came to save all of humanity.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what side of the line you're on there.
Sure.
Right? One of my favorite stories of Jesus, and there are many, one of my favorites is when he walked into the tabernacle and started flipping tables over because people were casting lots and betting, and he was just like, you are so missing the point.
Yeah, you're blaspheming my Father's house.
100%.
Yeah.
So much of that image of Jesus being upset because we're not getting it is not lost on me. I feel like if we can take that image or that energy and apply it towards something like politics or something like what's happening on the campus.
Yeah.
Like, dude, how far away from, hey, we are here for we're 80 years, 70 years if we're lucky. And if our job is to love people where they're at, what wasted time to be so upset at somebody that feels a certain way about something other than seeking middle ground with them, loving them through it, and talking it out, and hearing their actual points. Like what you said about debate. How wonderful would that be?
Yeah.
If somebody were to mediate that and be like, hey, do you guys have a speaker or a representative? Do you have a speaker and representative? We're going to pack a hall.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to have a conversation instead of just spitting at each other and screaming. And let's find a little bit of middle ground.
Yeah.
And you're going to learn a lot about them. And I promise they're going to learn a lot about you.
Absolutely.
Like,
well,
give me that. Give me that.
Give
me that society.
Well, and I think the reason that everything is so polarized is slight disagreement doesn't create action. Outrage.
I know. Nor does it create clickbaits and running to the news and shares and comments.
I agree.
Right?
And so...
Nor does good news.
You know what? And throw in the comments, if there is something that you're like, hey, this is something that I noticed is total clickbait. This is something that I was like, this is stupid. Why are we talking about it?
Yeah.
Type of thing. And let's just see that in there. I mean, what we've seen consistently is we call it cancel culture. Mm-hmm. No, it's popular. We allowed something to get so hateful that now we can now deem that unacceptable, and it can be an individual or a group of people. And then we now vilify because we're getting all the clicks and stuff. Right. Yep. And now everybody's polarizing about it. And it normally, at least from my understanding, at least what I've noticed, it starts religiously and then becomes political. Every time.
Yeah.
Well, Jesus wouldn't do that. Well, yes, he would. Well, I bet you this. Politicians are now going,
Jesus.
Hey, you guys hate each other. Guess what? I want your vote. And they just take advantage of the situation. Yeah. And so it's funny how we think like there's this huge machine that's taking advantage of it. No, we're taking advantage of ourselves.
It's people.
And we're destroying ourselves. And it's difficult, like that scenario. Again, Olympics. I genuinely believe that whole scenario wasn't malicious at all. Yeah. Misunderstanding. And the people posting on it, also misunderstanding. Mm-hmm. Like you said, you deleted one. Mm-hmm. The Hamas Israel. There's so much history there to understand the trueness of the complexity.
Biblical.
Right? You're not gonna. Mm-hmm. So, and then guess what? That's geopolitical. That's not something you can control.
Yeah.
Love them both. Move on.
Yeah.
Don't let the hate, right? And so we're so indicted in the take the hate. Mm-hmm. But in those scenarios, I don't blame the people clicking on the hate. Because they're at this point, We are trained to be drug addicts looking for the next dopamine hit, looking at the next person to be mad at, because there's so many things in our life that are uncontrollable. And often what happens if you have a bad job or you have a job that has a bad environment? It's because of a bad leader. Yeah. What happens when your finances aren't going so well? And you're spending money you shouldn't. That's because you don't have control. So you're not leading yourself properly. You're leading your family properly. Yeah. This is always comes down to responsibility and who's in control. Yeah. And if you're in control, you're the one that has to go, hey, man, maybe I shouldn't allow this to be the case. So
it's ownership.
Yes.
Ownership and leadership are hand in hand, right?
Absolutely.
If there's no leader and if that leader doesn't take ownership, like on the financial side.
Oh, my gosh, yeah.
Like people can complain all about. And on the lending side, I can't help but to see it. When I pull credit, even if it's a soft pull, I see the truck and the Lexus and the Yukon and the
and they're like, we're having a hard time.
And yeah. It's really stretched. I'm just like, yes, you are. Or do you feel stretched between the timeshare, the DVC membership, the trailer, or the boat? Which of those is most stretching?
Bro.
They're like, oh, man, bro.
And did you know there's still children starving in Africa? I'm just checking.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure.
No.
So, dude, I'm trying to think.
To quote really quick.
Yeah, no.
What's the line from Fight Club? One of my favorite movies of all time.
First rule about Fight Club, don't talk about Fight Club.
No, not that one. They're sitting at the bar, they're drinking. It's like, what you own in the end ends up owning you.
Yep.
Don't be just that product of you have to have.
Well, I would say it's the same thing about your beliefs.
Have financial literacy.
I say the same thing about your beliefs. If your beliefs is truly a relationship and it's truly like if you truly believe with full conviction what you believe, then in full conviction you should want that people to benefit like you benefit. It shouldn't be you need to do this because if you don't, bad things will happen.
100%.
It should be, hey, here's the benefits that I have. I don't know a single salesperson that says, look, if you don't buy like if I'm selling coffee, I'm going to be like, you don't buy coffee from me, you're going to die. Like, okay, I'm not going to sell any coffee. But if I go in there going, hey, here's the benefits that I can bring to the table, here's the cost, here's the analysis, here's how we can go about it, it creates the conversation.
Correct.
So why do we think that we're going to win anybody on anything by going, you know what sucks about everything? Everything. And it's like, thank you. Like,
don't you agree? Buy this coffee.
Like, okay.
Try this latte.
Yeah. So now we've heard a lot of negative, and I don't like sticking in the negative, and we try to have fun with it, but I try not to stick with the negative. And those are only 2 examples recently. There's a lot of examples that can be used, but I'm only using those 2 because those were the big ones.
Yeah,
I just saw
100%.
Polarizations, and I'm like, guys, you're both pretty. Sit down.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't matter, okay? Yeah. So here are...
That was very relevant.
Here are Central Michigan University. I Google searched, hey, what's a good leader? Mm-hmm. And then it gave me AI going, a good leader. And I'm like, no,
quiet.
Computer, you don't get to tell me a human. I need an article from a human. So
a good leader is when we take over in 2040. You're like, oh my God, AI, quit it.
You will love us and hate everybody around you. We win. So Central Michigan University was one of the first things that popped up, and it's 7 things to being a good leader.
Got it.
And so I thought, hey, you know what? We can sit here
and
unpack complain, but let's look at what it means to actually be a good leader. Because we hear these things.
Yeah.
You need to be a better leader.
Yeah.
Okay. If you tell somebody they need to be a better leader and you're not giving them actual tangible things to change, you're part of
For an example.
For an example?
No. Or an
example. Yeah. Then you're part of the problem. You're part of the hate bait.
Yeah.
You're hate baiting on that person.
Click.
You're going, cancel. Yeah. How dare you cancel?
Yep.
Empathy has to be there, right?
I like that voice.
Cancel.
Yeah. We could do the rest of the show with that voice.
And they were never heard of again.
Why did we lose all of our subscribers?
All 5 of our followers died that day.
My mom, your mom. And the 3 bots we paid a
absolutely. Thank you, AI, for being our number 1 follower.
Sorry for talking.
All right, so what it means to be a leader, it says, all right, what is a leader? A leader is not necessarily someone in leadership position like a manager. You can be a manager without being a true leader. Instead, a leader can motivate and inspire others to do their best. Are you a good leader? Evaluate each other with these signs. So the first one is you have distinct goals. and I think that's super important when you are doing fitness or even when you're doing finance. Mm-hmm. What are you trying to do?
There is a very clear goal in mind. That's why I love an industry. I love an industry where there's a clear goal, right? If somebody comes to me in January and they tell me that by the end of the year they want to buy a house, like, that's exciting to me because that scratches the same itch that once upon a time where Sally meets with me in the personal training sector and she says, it's January, I want to lose 40 pounds by December. When you can chart out the end goal, then you can dial it back. Okay, if we're trying to lose 40 pounds over the next 40 weeks, 1 pound a week, 20 weeks in, we ought to be halfway there. And this is how we chart it, right?
Yeah.
If I'm telling somebody, hey, I need you to save $12,000 for a down payment. Oh, well, we only have 4 right now. That's okay. If you can put away $500 a month, then over the next 16 months, and then you have a plan and a path. And then, oh, well, actually, I'm getting my tax return in April. Awesome. That will be X amount of money. That will save you X amount of months at the end.
Which is amazing.
You can plan.
Yeah.
And I feel like from a leadership standpoint, yes, you have to be goal oriented. Like, I love the SMART, SMART goal.
Yeah.
Specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time oriented.
It's right here. That was it. SMART.
I jumped ahead.
Bro, you're so good.
Son of a biscuit.
Central Michigan University.
Let's go.
SMART.
Let's go Hurricanes. I don't know.
No, but it's
Central Michigan. Don't. I don't know. I had to think of something. Let's go Lakers. Michigan.
I don't know.
What do you got?
I don't know. So
I'll look them up.
I'm not going to
chime in
right now. No, Go ahead and chime.
Chime in the comment section. No hate from Central Michigan.
So you're right. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-based. I mean, you have to have yourself, because if you don't, it's just going to be a grandiose thing.
It's a
It's going to be.
It's a goal. It's a dream.
It's a one day.
Yeah.
Instead of how can I do it now, and people don't realize simply by going, okay, I want to do this, and then giving yourself some basic goals. I even notice for myself when I write things down.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, oh.
I'm a writer downer.
Oh, and this is gonna say, it needs to be on paper.
Same.
I like writing it on paper because it gives me time to think about it, and then I'll put it in my phone because I like to have.
I'm old school, man. I have a hard time digitizing a lot of that, but what I love, because I like the term writer downer, so I'm just gonna roll with it. I'll write something down, like yesterday being Thursday. When I got to work yesterday, boom, top of the page, Thursday, and the list I'm making is off of the list that said Wednesday of the items that I wasn't able to get to.
Yeah.
And the items I wasn't able to get to, do they go at the bottom of Thursday or the top? They go to the top.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're now priorities.
Yep.
So like phone calls to make, emails to respond to, buyers agents, sellers agents to chime in with. When you chart like that, you're going to just have that much more success. And that's in any
Absolutely.
industry.
All right, number 2, you set a clear vision for your team and organization. So a leader sets a clear vision for their team or organization. So we'll take the Olympics thing. They could have known that this was going to happen because of all the conversations happening over the last 10 years. This is a huge thing. This isn't just gone away. It's only continuing. Why would they not use proactive thought and think about it and going, this isn't going anywhere? Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Right?
Hindsight, I'm sure they would have gone a different route.
Look, and here's where I'm at. I really respect, and this is where, even in politics and all that stuff, I really respect somebody that is very clear about what they believe and clear about what they're going to do. Because I can go, I disagree with you, but thank you for telling me. Because then I at least know, and I can go, why do I disagree with them? And I can even create my own list of why I disagree with them. But when it's ambiguous, we're going to change the world. How are you going to do it? We're just going to do it. That's a bad leader.
We're going to do it from our keyboard.
If you want to get through any of your bad, if you really want to get, if you're in business and you want to know if you're getting, like, you're looking for a good lawyer or a politician's test, if they have nothing, they have no goal. If it's, we're going to decrease taxes, cool, what does that look like? We're going to do it. You're full of crap.
Yeah.
Right? If you have a lawyer that's saying, hey, I can really benefit your business. How? I can benefit your business. How? And they give you nothing.
Vote for me and I'll show you.
Right. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the scenario. If I and I like that I can disagree with somebody. That's what makes America amazing, right?
Yep.
We have the freedom of speech, so we can literally look at each other and be like, "Thank you for telling me all those things. I hate all of them."
Yeah. Thank you for
But
telling me
but
how
thank you
feel.
for telling me.
Wow.
So now I can disagree with you.
Yeah.
But at least I know why I disagree with you.
Have conversation.
And even for yourself, and I have to do this, like the Olympics thing. I had to think, why does this not pass the sniff test? Why don't I like this?
Yeah.
Why do I disagree with this so much? And that was because there was no clear. It was outrage because of outrage's sake. I was like, what? Okay, I get it. A man hitting a woman, that's awful. But what if that person doesn't? And so my brain started kind of cycling, going, oh. So that needs to be painted.
Yeah, I like that.
Number 3, trusting people. It says trust within the team, but this is for people. But trusting.
From a leadership standpoint?
Yeah.
The leader trusting people?
Trusting people.
Yeah, because you have to be able to, a good leader doesn't do everything. A good leader trains up, coaches, shows by example.
Yeah.
Not to name any names. In a prior industry that I worked in, I had an issue with something digitally, charting.
Sure.
We'll call it. And my manager at the time, instead of coaching me on how to do it, they literally said, "Hey, I can train you on how to do this, and it'll probably take 30 or 45 minutes, or I can just do it for you, and it'll take 60 seconds." And they looked at me like, "Please choose the second option." And feeling in that way, I was like, "Okay, go ahead and do so." Was that a good leader? No. Because did I learn anything?
No.
They just did it, and it's quick, and it got me out of their hair, right? So, yeah, a good leader does not do everything. A good leader leads, shows, coaches, gives you the appropriate attaboys, if you would.
Yeah.
And the appropriate smacks on the wrist, if you need them.
Absolutely. Well, I think it's perspective as well. You can only see what you're going to see. Like my perspective of my life, right? My perspective is vastly different than a lot of people. I was raised very different than a lot of people, but I know that, right? And so if I'm going, how would X, Y, and Z? So let's take coffee culture, for example. Do you know it's common practice in they call it Mexican coffee. Like they take cinnamon sticks and they put it with the coffee grinds when they do it. So it's just cinnamon sticks in there with the coffee. Then they add cream. It's already got the cinnamon in with how they do it. That's
delicious.
how they do it. In Thailand, they use evaporated milk to sweeten it, and it's got it because it's in a can. They can just do it right there. In tropical places, they use coconut milk. So everyone has their own way of making the coffee, but I'm aware of that, and I've never made some of those. That doesn't mean I'm not willing to try, and it doesn't mean I would be the right person at the time. I'd be like, hey, those things are cool. I have no idea how to do that. Hey, you know how to do that? Cool. Can you show me? I'd love to learn.
Yeah.
Humility. Because trusting somebody is a goodwill act of humility. Going, hey, I don't know this, but I trust that you're going to take care of it.
You're leaning into them.
And when the trust is broken, that's when you kind of like, how do you resolve that scenario? And that it actually, to me, shows a good leader too. How do they resolve the scenario? Are they willing to throw out that person because their trust was broken? Was it malicious? Was it ignorant? Right? I think we see more about ourselves when we have to trust somebody else.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree.
All right. Let's see. You express yourself openly and candidly. There are no secrets.
I think that's part of a leader's ability to meet somebody where they're at, right? Because when that leader can give real life examples and coach you up, not just from scenarios, but from real life application, right? They're gonna be that much of a better leader. Thinking back to our manager when I was at the health club for the longest time, Edgar, who first year or so working under him, I couldn't stand him, and I'll say it on the air. But God, I love.
Sorry, Edgar.
I freaking love that guy now. I look forward to popping him to the gym when he's in town and giving him just a big old freaking hug. But I look back and I didn't like him because he required more from me than any manager I had ever had before. And like he would check me on stuff and that I had never been like checked on before. And I was like, Who's this guy think he is? Like, bro, back up. But then, like, I started to see the application of what he was coaching me on, and then we ended up growing the personal training team into just this incredible, hugely profitable force under his guidance. And I give him so much credit looking back because of what he demanded of me.
Yeah.
So it took me having a stronger thumbed leader on me for me to be able to better manage my team of trainers, because I was the fitness director. I was over all the trainers at the time. But that's leadership, man. You're not they're in a position not to just be your friend, right? Like you have to have those hard conversations. And what was nice about that relationship and that experience, he had been in the fitness industry like 30 years before I had ever even gotten my NASM training license. So much of his knowledge impartation was based off of lived experience.
Yeah.
And not just, well, I think you should do this. And I'm the type, I'm like, why?
No, dude.
Like,
tell me.
Help me break it. Like, I need it to make sense for me before I try to make it sense.
Because then
make sense to my.
You don't have conviction. If you don't have conviction, you don't know why. How can you sell conviction to somebody else?
Yeah. But having, man, if you're in a position like you will thrive more. At least I did. You'll probably agree to this. You will thrive more in a position where you have a leader that is more stone-faced than you will with someone that's just kind of willy-nilly and all over the place.
Yep.
And people may think, oh, I love this manager because he's just so cool and he never writes anybody up. I'm like, well, then there's no accountability.
Exactly.
No accountability. You're never going to actually grow there, right? Like something that Edgar always said was, pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah.
Right? You're going through the month, and if, numbers are down on personal training or packages sold or whatever, it's like, hey, if we're serious about keeping our jobs, this is the kind of stuff that we need to be able to perform on.
Well, and I appreciate that transparency too. And I think that what makes a good leader, especially if you're looking at a manager position, is they're having that honest conversation with you, and they're having the same honest conversation with the people above them.
Correct.
Because they're going, hey, no, my guys are doing the best they can.
Yeah.
I'm pressuring them. We're doing our thing. If you need something else to deal with, you need to do something else. But it creates this, wow, I'd follow them because they're loyal to you because you're trying the best you can.
Correct.
If everybody puts 100% effort into something, it's going to be amazing because they're doing the best that they can. And even if it fails, there's still the admiration of like, wow. Like, I think of Evel Knievel, okay? That guy literally made a living doing things that nobody else would want to do. Oh, I'm going to jump the Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
He broke every bone in his body multiple times.
Yeah.
The guy hasn't landed everything. Yet we still go, ooh, what's Evel Knievel? Like, I remember it being a huge thing.
Oh,
but why would
early 90s?
Dude, why would we even care? We cared because at least he was doing something that we couldn't do, and he did it all. He went all in. I think even when he failed, you're like,
in every way.
Right? So I think that there's a huge thing to that, being open and honest. I think the problem is, if I'm going to address this on the opposite side, and this is me talking to the people that have leaders that they can't stand, because I had bosses I didn't like, and then I had to realize, why didn't I like them? And I had to have that conversation.
Check yourself. Sure.
But if you're, and we say this, and I will know, I'm a huge advocate of this, if you're in a net negative in your emotions, if you're in a net negative in your life, your boss is now your problem because you are unattainable in your own self.
Correct.
And you're not leading yourself.
Correct.
In order to have a good leader, you have to lead yourself.
Yep.
So I feel like you need to be open to yourself. What do I actually want? You need to be candid with yourself. What do I actually want?
Yeah.
Don't get mad at your boss if he's doing that. And I think that would de-escalate a lot of things.
My boss hates me. No, maybe you're just kind of a shit employee. Like maybe you can just be a little better at your job and check yourself.
You show up late, you have poor customer service, and you want a raise.
Yeah.
One of those is not like the other.
help me understand. So but that's ownership, and ownership, like we said, is leadership. And if you don't take ownership for your work, you're going to hate every leader that's always over you, but it's not them.
My favorite people to work with are people that self-lead themselves, to where I can be like, hey man, can you do this? Yeah, sure. Day later, hey, I got that done.
Or that look for it. Oh.
Yeah, well, you're looking for people that are already leading themselves, and then if you lead yourself properly, then you're getting the skills to lead somebody else. This doesn't start with you being a manager to have power. You're powerful enough as an individual to control yourself. And if you can control yourself, then you now have input to help other people. Because all we're doing is helping balance everything that's inside of us for maximum output.
Yeah.
And if I know, man, I've got negative thoughts if I watch this, this, and this, I shouldn't watch it. I should just stay away from it. And that's why I have a difficulty with absolutes on certain things. Because...
What do they say about Siths and absolutes?
That's why I'm not a Sith, bro. Do it.
Going back to Palpatine.
Couldn't help it.
Do it.
Do it. I do that all the time. My wife, she's just like, hey, I'm thinking I should adjust the menu. I'm like, do it. She's like, really? I'm like,
do you throw a hood on? Like, do it. Spin around in your black chair. Do it.
Every once in a while, I'm like, join the dark side of the Force. She's like, stop it.
Somebody, please, in the comment section, give me a
Palpatine,
a meme of Palpatine saying, "Do it."
All right, the next one. There's 7 in total. The next one, you inspire others. You're an inspiration, and I think that ties into what we were just talking about. I think we kind of took the thunder from this one. You are content with yourself. You know who you are. You're not at a net negative. You've got your diet's taken care of. You know what your mental life. You're taking thoughts and going, no, that thought doesn't matter. Nope. You're balancing yourself out. You're around people. You have a support system. You've got a community. And as you try to do better, you naturally inspire other people to do better.
100%.
Like, it's like, at the hospital when we would have a kid that was hurt, always was awful. And you see like a 6-year-old kid with a broken leg.
Yeah.
And like, kids get broken legs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're playing.
Kids. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
But
he jumped on the roof. He was flying.
But when you see a 6-year-old kid going, hey, I can't run or anything right now, but I'm going to use my crutches. And you see them going all day on those things. And they're like, no, to walk again, I got to do this. Oh, I got to take this. I'm going to do this because I want to do this.
You can get pumped up.
Bro, you're like, man, if that 6-year-old can do it, freaking I can do it. And I think that we don't realize that by being self-sufficient and being self-motivated, we inspire others naturally.
Yeah. And you may never know it.
No.
It's when you're around the Brian Davises of the world and
my gosh, yes.
Jeff and Sheree Stevenses of the world and the Jim Kings of the world and the Joe Handys of the world and Doug Smiths of the world and Dan Callahans of the world, when you're around those kind of people, it makes you want to be that kind of person.
100%.
Right? The gravitas is just palpable. Like like one of my favorite hugs every Sunday is Brian Davis.
Bro.
Right when I walk in, the second door on the right, he's going to be sitting right there. And it's always the biggest dap ever. My man, bop. Like I freaking love that guy. I want to have Brian on the show monthly. It'd be the best thing ever.
He's amazing.
But when you and like I'm going to see him today. I'm going to see him today because he invited me months ago to begin volunteering and serving individuals that are experiencing homelessness in Marysville. And now that's just part of my week.
I love it.
If you want to find me Friday at noon, I will be at Motor Park in Marysville.
Love it.
Loving on people and bringing them clothes. We were not to completely sidetrack, but just the impact from leaders.
Yeah.
Brian is a leader in my mind, in my eye, and my heart. And seeing someone lead by example, in my opinion, is the best way to lead.
Absolutely.
And seeing him out there week after week after week, and rain and shine and summer, winter, spring, fall, I'm like, wow, okay, there's something to that, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And being out there, and then now that I've been out there for 5-6 weeks in a row, I'll text. Like last week, I texted Brian as I was coming into Marysville at like 12:05, and I was like, "Hey man, 5-10 minutes out." He's like, "Awesome, I'm with so and so, a woman that's experiencing homelessness. She asked if you were coming today," and I was like, "Oh, that's so bro, like that is what it's all about."
Absolutely,
like the second to this morning and spending time with my buddy, that absolutely fills my cup.
Yeah.
Like I don't care how many escrows I have or close or sign. when you get to get out there amongst other leaders
Sure.
that are leading by example,
Absolutely.
get out and love on people, there is no greater feeling.
Oh, absolutely.
And I know that the way leadership works, when other people see me doing it, it has drawn other people to the table.
Absolutely.
And when they get to do it, now they get to leave that experience feeling that much true. I mean, honestly, that much better about their situation, because when you're serving a population or a populace of people that are experiencing homelessness, something about all of your cares don't mean snot anymore.
Yeah.
Because you can have all of these issues, and then when you're around people that are literally living on the streets, it humbles you. It allows you to realize,
sure,
my 1995 Toyota ain't terrible because someone's living in a box. You know,
no, literally, no, absolutely.
So yeah, there you go.
It grounds you. It grounds you 100%.
Plug for the many leaders in this town that do it and do it well.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of, I mean, like you're saying, inspiring others. When you start seeing a change,
Leadership.
You want to be part of that change, and that comes down to the person going, I'm making an active choice to make change here.
Yep.
And even if nobody's there, you have to have the conviction. If nobody shows, will you still do it? Mm-hmm. The inner thoughts that you have. If nobody's around, do I still like myself? Mm-hmm. Right?
I love that.
It's those quiet moments. That's what makes a leader in these things. If you're not inspired by yourself and you're always, and you don't have the community, right? It's proactive. So, and we've got two more, and I'm just going to hit them real quick. You foster innovation. So I think that's super important. You're literally going, how would you do that better? Mm-hmm. How would you change that? I think, and that's that open candidness. Mm-hmm. But like, wow, like you were saying, watch somebody who's lazy.
I was
right.
Took my point,
that,
man,
bro. You
exactly
say that.
What I was gonna say.
But if somebody is, say they're doing their job and they're doing it, there's nothing not happening. Yeah. And that person, you're like, how are you still having time? Yeah. How are you still doing it? Having that conversation instead of accusing that person of being worthless or lazy or how dare you not follow the rules like I set them in place.
They are grossly efficient.
You're like, wow, I never thought of it.
I never thought of that.
And that comes to, again, don't click the hate bait.
Yeah.
That person just thought differently, and you're like, I didn't even think about it that way. Right?
Something to learn.
And by humbling yourself and having the conversation, it actually creates innovation. And then the last one, maintain high standards. So important.
Brush your teeth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Starting a day with, what do they say, like that video of that Navy captain? It's all about making your bed in the morning. Yeah. Listeners may know that video. It's like, if you want to change the world, make your bed in the morning. And if you haven't watched that video, we should put a link on this video to that video, because that is just hugely impactful. And the nature of that is systems. Starting the day with systems, whether it's brush your teeth, make your bed, say your morning prayers, or have your morning devotion. When you start your day systematically, then you're starting your day proactively. Yep. And there's not since and my mom says I did this in my crib, so I've done this literally since I was a baby. As soon as I wake up, naturally, I just like under the covers, I just crawl into the fetal position, and before my feet hit the floor or my hand touches the alarm clock or my phone or whatever, I literally crawl into the fetal position and I start my day every day. Dear Heavenly Father, I give you this day. Yeah. There's take me out of the pilot seat, give me the co-pilot seat. God, you lead the way. Any issue that I would have come into today, God, I pray in Jesus' name that you address it in advance. Continue to break my heart, Lord, for what breaks yours. Guide me, keep me, bless my family, bless my day. Amen. And then it's like, let's go. Yeah. But that is daily how I start my day. And that's daily how I've started my day, literally as far back as I can remember. And there's even times, and like Hannah, if Hannah's up before me, which happens often, that I'll hear Hannah walk in to the room to say something to me while I'm in the middle of prayer. And she's like, oh, sorry, I'll come back. Because she respects that moment that I have with God to start my day.
Well, it's the discipline.
Systematically.
It's the discipline.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's like, and I think that it comes into, again, don't take the hate bait. Like, you can see somebody that, and you can see somebody that's put all this work and effort into something, and then you can be like, wow, how come you can do that? And allow envy and jealousy to kind of fill your cup. And then all of a sudden, you don't realize that person has been faithfully doing something for years. Like I think of the story in the Bible of the, like everyone's bringing in their offerings and dropping it in, and this woman comes in and puts in 2 pennies. And he's like, these 2 are the most valuable because she gave everything. I think that has more of an, like if I like interject into that, it's a little old woman who's been coming in there. How many years has she faithfully been just, here it is. Not caring if anybody saw her, not caring if anything happened. Here's where it's at. Here's my sacrifice. Here's what I'm willing to lay down. Here's what I'm willing to give. Faithfully. You want to be a great leader, sacrifice daily and know, and just knowing yourself what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's where it's difficult when you talk to any leader. They always have some type of a faith background.
Yeah.
Or they have some type of something that they believe in.
Something that grounds them.
You need to have some type of a conviction.
Yeah.
And so if you have no conviction, you have no goals. You just, all you do is sit around and look for somebody else to blame for your problems.
Yeah.
You look at yourself. Are you part of the machine that is just creating more hate because you yourself haven't looked at anything a different way?
And the machine is telling you how to feel. And
you
what
should
to
be
think.
mad.
Yeah.
You should be mad that this is happening in the Olympics. You should be mad that this is happening in college campus. When it's like, no, this is bad. This is a bad scenario, and it's really escalating and festering because of a bad leadership. So you have a wound on your arm. You don't get mad at the wound. It festers, and you do nothing about it. Well, that rightfully should fester. And then if you lose your arm because you didn't take care of the wound, whose fault's that?
Yeah.
It's not the wound's fault.
The government.
Do it. It's Little Debbie's the reason I'm fat.
Damn you, Little Debbie.
Do it. So hopefully you guys got something from this.
I got something out of this, man.
You know,
this pumped me up. I love the topic of leadership. There's so much benefit to good leadership. I would call you out if you're watching this and you're in a work capacity and you feel like leadership at your work aren't measuring up. Before you try to check them, check yourself.
Yep.
Make sure that you are the type of employee that they're wanting to coach up. But B, or secondly, if you give a leader in a leadership role, if you give them the critique or the suggestion that you want to be led a different way, I think that bodes well in most situations.
Absolutely.
Because you are now showing them that you respect their leadership, and you are asking them to kind of rein in on you a little bit. A couple weeks ago, I hired a mortgage coach, and I've been in lending. This is my 7th year in lending. And one of my buddies is an agent. He's like, why'd you get a coach, man? You've been doing this forever. I was like, because I want somebody to continue to hold me to the fire.
Yeah.
You know? I want somebody to make sure I'm checking in on past clients. I'm marketing appropriately and this, that, and the other. Like when you don't have good leadership, you're not going to rise to the occasion, right? And that's something that's important. So if you're in whatever role you're in, if you're in a leadership role, having that empathy and meeting your I don't want to say underlings, your constituents, the people that you work that work below you, having that transparency and that ability for them to come and speak to you, I think will bode well for that relationship with you. And if you're in a position where you have a superior that maybe you're not seeing eye to eye, seek middle ground. Don't just bash them, because you could be in a situation very much like I was with my manager all those years ago, and he checked me and I hated it, but it ended up being one of the best things for my career in the fitness industry.
Yes.
I love you.
I love you too, man. Thank you for checking out the Cam and Joe Show.
If you guys are liking our content so far, you can follow us on Facebook and Instagram. You can also listen to us on Spotify.